If you are a midlife woman or you're coming up on this powerful season of growth, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Unraveling Together. I'm Samantha Graber, also known as Dr. Sam, seasoned holistic health physician and woman in the midst of midlife's unraveling. I created Unraveling Together to help a woman understand what is happening to her during this season. In a sea of changing hormones and moods, we need a space for safe exploration, a space to enter unencumbered and where we won't be judged for our pasts nor for our anxieties about the uncertain future. Unraveling Together is the place to talk about the things we just don't talk about, but so desperately need to as women. Together we untangle ourselves from our pasts and weave a beautiful web for a future we so deeply desire to bring to life. We do this firmly planted in the here and now. And we do this through doing the work. And we do it together. You are never alone as you navigate the midlife waters. I'm here right alongside you, and I bring friends. Grab a cup of chai, water, tea, or joe, and let's dive in. In this episode, I'll dispel one of the most damaging nutrition myths of all time. Eating fat makes you fat. Oof. Can you feel me now? I'm beating my head against the wall just reading that. We were sold out by our policymakers, and I do not see these policies changing anytime soon. It is up to you to change your own policy in your own body with your own fork. Let's get into it now. Eating fat makes you fat. Everyone knows that, right? I mean, we have heard this so many times. It must be right, right? Wrong. Eating fat does not make you fat in and of itself. Now, it is correct that fat has more calories, 9 per gram, than carbs, 4 calories per gram, or protein, which is also 4 calories per gram. So a high intake of fat may result in a higher caloric intake. And as everyone knows, consuming more calories in a given day than required may cause weight gain under quote-unquote normal dietary conditions. Now that's a topic I could go into right now, but I'm going to stay on this topic. Contrary to all the hype about fat, replacing sugar and other carbs with healthy fats actually results in weight loss when calories are at a deficiency. It's also true that low-carb diets have been shown to result in more weight loss and a larger reduction in cholesterol levels than low-fat diets. Additionally, it is when carbs and fat are mixed that problems in weight gain arise. The only proof you really need of this fact is the insurmountable amount of carb/oil-laden junk food and processed food that we consume as a society. This combo has, in great part, resulted in epidemic levels of obesity today. More than 1 in 3 U.S. adults is considered obese. Look left, look right, look in the mirror. One of you is likely obese. It is estimated that half the children of today will be obese adults if current trends continue. When you significantly limit carb intake, individual amounts vary, the body will use dietary fats and your own fat stores for energy, literally turning your body into a fat-burning machine while reducing belly, thigh, butt, back, and hip fat. When you were young, your metabolism and high activity levels may have allowed you to eat carbs with fat and maintain a decent body composition, which is body fat to lean mass proportions, as well as a reasonable weight for the most part. But as you get older, and like most, your activity levels and metabolism slow down, your weight may start to creep up. Add to this the onset of insulin resistance, which 35% of those over 40 have to some degree. You're helpless against the middle-age spread. It's a thing. Seriously, look into it. And look around next time you're in public. It's not only a thing, it's an epidemic. If you are already overweight and your diet is filled with carbs, it makes it very difficult for the body to use stored fat for energy because it always defaults to carbs for that purpose. The body is lazy, all right? Let's just call it what it is. It's not going to go the difficult route when the easy stuff is just so easy. Now, if you are eating every 2 to 3 hours, the probability of tapping into body fat for fuel is next to impossible since food is always being consumed. By greatly reducing carb intake, you promote the body's ability to burn fat stores for energy, resulting in healthy weight loss. Now, unlike carbs, fat also promotes satiety and fullness, helping to regulate the appetite, so you actually wind up eating less. In fact, you have to eat 2 times more carb calories than fat calories to reach the same level of fullness, in theory. Now, everyone is different, so absolute statements are not realistic here. While fat has more calories, 9 per gram versus the 4 per gram in both protein and carbs, it's more important to understand what it does inside the body. But by the math, this equates. Contrary to conventional wisdom, a calorie is not a calorie. Unlike carbs, fat has little impact on blood glucose, which keeps glucose and insulin stable, eliminating out-of-control cravings and hunger that comes after eating carbs. Carbs, on the other hand, more specifically the mixture of carbs and processed oils and fats, is the food manufacturer's wet dream and your biggest nightmare. Ever eaten a whole bag of chips without realizing what you're doing until you have the bag turned upside down and were tapping it to get every last bit of the crumbs? It's almost like an out-of-body experience. The carb/fat combo, along with the chemical you-know-what storm present in processed foods, lights up certain pathways in the brain, rendering it almost zombie-like. All action, no thought. It's such a strange phenomenon. More on this later. When there is a high level of insulin in the blood, it triggers the body to store energy in body fat. Insulin is released in response to glucose. Glucose comes from carbs. So in reality, it is eating carbs that makes the human fat, not eating fats. When debating the topic of fat, there are 2 different discussions to be had. There's the fat on our body and the fat in cellular membranes. They are not one and the same, but they are sourced from our food. The fat haters, as I like to call them, they threw the gauntlet down without doing their biochemistry homework, apparently. To take you back in time, a little or a lot, you may recall looking at cells under the microscope. The outer part you could see as a border, and what gives the cell its structure as well as its shape is called the membrane. This membrane is the protective barrier for the cell, and therefore the protective barrier for you. Every cell in the body has fats in its cellular membrane. We refer to fats in this capacity as lipids, and a lipid bilayer when talking membranes in human cells. This membrane keeps the good stuff in the cell and the bad stuff out of it, simplistically speaking. Now, there is a whole lot of science going on when it comes to this balance. But to break it down, the more pliable or flexible that our membrane is, the better the cell can regulate its internal environment. The better your cells can regulate their internal environments, the better you maintain your health. Capiche? Now, the pliability or flexibility of the cell membrane is directly affected by the quality of fats we eat. This is why, when eating the way I recommend, a strong emphasis is placed on exactly what kinds of fats are consumed. The best fats are monounsaturated and saturated, including olive oil, butter and ghee from grass-fed cows, avocado oil, lard from pork, tallow from beef, and coconut oil. These fats promote a more supple lipid bilayer, and supple is where it's at. It is ill-advised to eat anything containing polyunsaturated fats, also known as PUFAs, P-U-F-A. These are things like soybean, corn, canola, and cottonseed oils. Margarine is always on my naughty fats list, as it is fake and has trans bonds which make that lipid bilayer rigid instead of pliable. No bueno. And for the record, canola oil is the invention of Canadian food manufacturers. Canola is can for Canada and ola for oil. It's frankenfood. Never eat that stuff. Get this. It's extracted with hexane solvents, a byproduct of gasoline production. The eating fat makes you fat lie has done more damage to our health than you can believe. The decades of fat phobia have left us fatter and sicker than ever before in our history as a nation. Heck, as a species. We were sold out by our policymakers, and I do not see these policies changing anytime soon. So it's up to you to change your own policy in your own body and brain with your own fork. Let's recap this lie. Eating fat makes you fat. Eating fat does not make you fat. Eating carbs does. Especially when it comes to quick and dirty carbs. You know, the ones that lure you in with their sexy chemical names and the feelings of euphoria they trick your brain into feeling. Remember, these types of carbs spike your insulin. Insulin impedes the body's access to body fat, so you cannot burn it for energy. When you cannot readily tap into all the stored energy in body fat, you have to rely on a constant supply of carbs to get your energy fix. But it doesn't have to be this way when you are fat-fueled. Thank you for joining me on the Unraveling Together podcast. Would you help a sister out and do me a quick favor? If you gained any value from this episode, please give me a 5-star rating on iTunes and leave a comment so others can more easily find us. Now, if you can't leave a 5-star rating, I'd love to know why. This podcast is a work in progress, as am I. Please send your feedback to hello@unravelingtogether.com so I can improve the listener experience. And if you want to dive deeper into exploring your midlife experience, consider joining the Unraveling Together community of rebellious midlife women. It is there that we roll up our sleeves and do the work. It is at the midlife point in our lives we face a critical choice: step into our true selves vibrantly with purpose, or shrink into the invisible shell society wants us to inhabit, drugged up and burned out. I know my choice, and if you've listened this far, I have a good idea yours would be the same. Unraveling Together is a resource hub, roadmap, and online coaching group curated by yours truly. Unravelers, that's what I call us. We are thinkers, we are doers, we are collaborators. We are navigating this time called midlife together, for we truly believe we are stronger together. And when unravelers are in need of an assist, they have all of us there alongside them.